what? I take back what I said. Guel Jeturk might not be such a monumental douchebag after all.
Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. Can you feel the excitement in the room, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, because there is a Gundam rematch in the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Another monumentally awesome episode of the series, where we finally get to see the return of Guel Jeturk as he tries to reclaim his honor in another battle against Suletta Mercury. Not to mention, we also get some really great character moments, lots of fantastic catchphrases, and of course, mecha porn, drenched in all of its robot-y goodness. But first, YouTube algorithm bullshit. If you like my videos, make sure to like them. If you're loving them, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. And of course, if you watched the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, make sure to sound off in the comment section and let's talk about all of the juicy bits. But this episode right here is ultimately going to be remembered as the rematch between Suletta and Guel, and it went into an honestly pretty unexpected direction for me. I mean, like I said, it's gonna be a highlight. It's a really great battle, but really it's the dynamic between the main characters and their parents which I really think make this a pretty deep and amazing episode. So first things first, the overall plot of this episode is real simple. We figured out at the end of the last one that there's going to be a big rematch, but it's actually going to be between Suletta and Guel, and we even get to see that Guel's going to be using a brand new fancy mobile suit known as the Darilbald, or the Darilbaldi. You know what, let's just call it the red one. And not only was this mobile suit teased in the last episode for being super slick and having all sorts of really cool beam weaponry, everything from sabers to lances, but also it has this built-in AI technology which is basically gonna pilot the machine all by itself. And basically this just shows that Guel's father has real no faith in his son's abilities. And no, this is not shocking, because Guel himself was initially seen as a douchebag, and his father is really just new levels of pure douchebaggery. Essentially, Guel's father sees him as nothing more than a tool, a means to an end in order to sort of further his role in the Benneret group. This, of course, is completely juxtaposed to Suletta's relationship with her mother, and it's pretty much officially confirmed in this episode, and I know it's not really a shock at all, that Lady Prospera is indeed her mother. Now, their relationship is the exact opposite in many ways, as Suletta's mother seems to have a lot of faith in her daughter, her abilities, and her overall goals in life. However, I still feel that there's something of a darker motive going on here with her mother, and I don't know if that means we can classify her as a hero or a villain quite yet. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Is Suletta's mother simply going to be blinded by revenge and use her daughter for her very own means, or does she really seem to have faith in the future of Gundam technology and bringing it to the forefront? I honestly think that's gonna be one of the biggest, more emotional elements of the series, but ultimately this episode gets right back to the meat and potatoes of the main storyline, which is going to the Gundam Academy and having lots of cool fights. But before we get to the Gundam duel proper, let's talk about some other big developments of the series, because a lot of characters get some pretty big appearances in this episode. First, I want to talk about Shadiq Zinelli. This is a character that I think is honestly going to be one of the more surprising ones from the series, as he's working directly with his father, who basically is number 2 in the Benneret group, and it's very obvious that Shadiq is being put on a mission to sort of watch from the shadows and see what he can find out a little bit more about Suletta, her mother, and what their whole Shinsei Corporation is doing, as they have a lot of suspicions about them, and how could they not? They have a fucking Gundam. And Shadiq, of course, is going to be important because not only does he have a very fun personality, but he's one of those characters that has a very distinct character design, and if you're watching an anime and a character looks distinct, well, the fact of the matter is, they're important. We also get to spend some more time with Suletta and Miorine in this episode, which is all sorts of fucking adorable, especially because Suletta gets to go over some of her goals of actually being in school, and they're just so damn cute. She just wants to make friends, she wants to give one of her friends a nickname, she wants to go on a date. Of course, all of this means nothing to Miorine, who essentially is a woman on a mission. They gotta kick Guel's ass, and that's really the mission at hand. And speaking of Guel, I honestly have to say that I think he is the most surprising character in this entire episode. In the span of 3 episodes, they have taken this character who was practically designed to be hated, and now I think he's one of the best characters of the entire series. He has a surprising amount of depth, and I can't believe it, but episode 3 actually made me sympathize with the character, not just because of his relationship with his father, but also when you get to see his reaction when he sees that Suletta has such a close and bonding relationship with his mother, something he desperately wants with his family. The guy just wants to be respected by his father. And look, respecting your parents is a two-way streak. It has to be mutual on both sides, and clearly there's a lot of tension between Guel, his father, and even his brother, who also seems to blindly follow along with everything that his father does. But you can actually see that Suletta manages to get through to Guel a couple of times in this episode, showing that she doesn't seem to disrespect him. In fact, she even seems to have a lot of respect for his overall abilities, especially when it comes to being a mobile suit pilot. She also imparts with him some of her philosophy on what I think is one of the best phrases of the entire series, which is, if you run, you gain 1. If you move forward, you gain 2. It's not only important and thematic for the rest of the series, but it's the type of lesson you can take into real life. It's these moments that actually managed to paint Guel in a brand new light and actually managed to make me like him as a character. He's more than just a misogynistic asshole. He's a tortured soul. He's simply a man who wants to be loved, and to give love as well, and more on that at the very end of this review. Speaking of potential love interests, we also get the return of Elon Saris in this episode, who's a part of the dueling committee, and he's the one who actually ends up bringing Suletta and Guel together as they go over the rules and stipulations of this duel, which are pretty much the same as they were before. If Guel wins, he wants Suletta out, and if Suletta wins, he wants Guel to apologize to Miorine. And then we get to the duel proper, and this is awesome. It's definitely the most mobile suit action that we've gotten from the series thus far, and if you liked the way it looked in episode 1, you're gonna like the way it looks here. It is a really tense and awesome fight, not only filled with everything that you would want from a mobile suit battle, everything from beam rifles to saber weapons to really great choreography, it's all there. However, we also get to learn that the rules of these duels can be manipulated by the families that are involved with them, with Guel's father using a lot of cheap tactics in order to give his son an advantage in this fight, not just utilizing the AI of his brand new mobile suit, the red one, but also utilizing this false rain which is inside of the colony, which, in a thing that I've never think I've seen before in a Gundam series, whenever Suletta tries to use beam weaponry, whether it be the sword or even just the beam rifle, the beam saber never manages to actually fire correctly, as the rain actually ends up dissipating its power, not allowing it to cause any damage at all. Basically, Guel's father is a massive dick and screwing around with everything, and that's when Miorine decides to take it upon herself to stop this. We get to see that a couple of those goons who are working directly with Guel, the ones who are completely obsessed with him, are the ones responsible for this, and Miorine manages to stop it in a really fun and bombastic mecha sequence of her very own. And then eventually, we finally get to see the characters battling with their very own strength. Things are finally on equal footing for both of them, and even after Guel has multiple parts of his mobile suit destroyed, he just keeps coming. And I really love the fact that even when he has like his rocket hands of his mobile suit completely get cut up, he can still manage to ignite beam sabers from them, which looks all sorts of cool. And the battle here just gets really bombastic and clangy and awesome, and a small part of me believed that Guel was actually going to win this duel. There was a small part towards the end of the episode where he just kept going really freaking hard as they are flying around all over the place. Suletta's Gundam Ariel lost an arm, Guel's had lost all sorts of parts, and they have like one big final clash with one another, but of course Suletta ends up winning, gaining the respect of not only Guel himself, but of also all of the other students who are watching the battle. And I think this is really cool because Suletta simply just wants to make friends, and on her little school notebook pad, she ends up getting all of these congratulations from all of her fellow students, which just end up pouring in, and it just is completely awesome. She's so smitten with all of this. She manages to check another thing off of her wish list, not to mention giving Miorine a stupid, adorable nickname of Mio Mio, which of course Miorine predictably hates. And so the episode ends with everything returning to the status quo at the end of episode 1 of Suletta becoming the holder and the top dog at the Astakasia School of Technology. This episode is certainly planting the seeds for what's going to be happening later on in the series, with a lot of character interactions, not to mention all the things going on in the background of the series, politically speaking. But ultimately, this episode I think belonged to Guel Jeturk. I think he honestly has had some of the best development of the entire series. Like I said, I think think it's a pretty good thing when they can take a character who's meant to be hated initially and almost turn him into something completely different by the end of this episode right here. Like I said, he ends up actually absorbing a lot of that really great advice and philosophy that Suletta decides to give him. And not only that, but when he actually loses the duel, he doesn't get upset. In fact, he seems to fall even more further in love with Suletta. That's right, he even proposes to her at the very end of the episode. Now, this could simply just be a funny character quirk of Guel for the fact that he's just a ladies' man. That's just the type of thing that he likes to do. This might not even be sincere at all. He could just be living in the moment here and obsessed with this amazing mobile suit pilot. All I know is this just turned from like a love triangle to a love... This is fucked. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is an episode of Gundam which was equal parts awesome and fucking adorable. It's really strange that they can manage to actually pull that off, but also have a lot of intriguing things going on in the background with all of the characters, and I really hope with the amount of episodes that they're going to have time to flesh out everyone, because there's a number of character interactions in this episode which I think are pretty remarkably interesting. It's not just the main ones, it's characters like Shadiq, it's that one character who goes by the name of Cecilia, this girl who effectively has become the new Guel Jeturk in this episode because she kind of a bitch. But for every bitchy character, it's backed up by a lot of other ones which are just as enduring and honestly really great. This is ultimately a character-driven Gundam anime, and most of them really are. But at the same time, there's this really great marriage of giving us that traditional Gundam action, war is hell, and just some really great characters. This is a great experience so far, and I cannot wait to see what is next. It's definitely my favorite anime that I'm currently watching right now. As I've said, I'm very biased. I love Gundam overall, but yeah, this was another solid addition to The Witch from Mercury. I think this might be my favorite episode of the entire series thus far. Again, like I said, I love when a series can surprise me, and this one did it a lot with the characters of Guel and Suletta. Their confrontation was great, and I can't wait to see how their relationship is going to develop as the rest of the series goes on. So, I'm giving this one a 5 out of 5. I know it might seem that I'm overpraising it just a little bit, but damn it, I just really loved this episode. But maybe you had a different opinion. Maybe you loved it more. Maybe you hated it. Make sure to sound off in the comments section below, and make sure to tell me what you thought about the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, and of course what you hope to see from the rest of the series, any theories, thoughts on what you want to see, character relationships, brand new mobile suits. Let's discuss all of that good, juicy Gundam goodness. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.